I'm live. My throat's really sore tonight, so you have to excuse me. If you see my videos in previous episodes, you'll know it's because I kissed someone who smoked, and ever since then, that was on Friday. This is Monday now, and I've still got a really bad throat and chest, so really, really sorry. But this is a place to be for education about asexuality. Hi, Michael. So if you haven't already subscribed, hit that big subscribe button now. Hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I post a new video or go live. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as you go through it. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. Get to give this video a thumbs up as you go through it. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. Welcome to the second day of Asexual Awareness Week. Happy Asexual Awareness Week to you. In today's video, we are covering a topic that has been requested by Martin, who is watching this channel right now. So Martin wanted me to cover autism in regards to asexuality and in regards to relationships. So I've put asexuality and in regards to relationships. So I've prepared some notes and got some stuff that I need to show you to help. And I'm not autistic myself, so I have to admit this was a challenge for me to do this video. It's a topic that Martin raised quite some time ago with me, and it's difficult because I'm not autistic. You know, I can only speak from my experience. The topic was so close to applying to me because I have Asperger's, but I don't desire a relationship. Right, okay. That's cool. Michael, I didn't know that. So yeah. So basically, you know, it's hard because I'm not autistic. So I'm trying to do an educational video here about autism, but I can only do it from my experience of being around autistic people and the little bit of knowledge I know, and give you some further resources, because obviously I'm not an expert on this topic at all. I don't know much in depth about it, but I do have experience about, you know, being around asexuals in particular that have Asperger's. But I also had a guy who I was friends with who was Asperger's, and I think I'd like to start this conversation off with him because I think it's really important that people in general believe that asexuality and autism go together. And this isn't necessarily the case. The reason I know about this is because this guy who was my... yeah, you've both got it. I didn't know Michael had it. I only knew that you had it. So basically this guy who I knew who had Asperger's syndrome, he used to be nearly a best friend to me for a year. We were quite close, but I would say a bit too close. Because he had a girlfriend, and his behaviour was a bit too close to what I would consider for a friend. Whether that might have been to do with his autism in part as well, I think. But basically, he wasn't asexual. He was heterosexual. He said even though he's autistic, he still desires sex. So I think that's important to put it out there into the world, to know that just because you're autistic on the autistic spectrum does not mean to say that you have to be, or that you're going to be, or that you automatically are asexual. But it would seem from the research I've done that there's more people in the asexual community that tend to be. There does seem to be a lot of overlap though. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There tends to be more asexuals with autism than people who, I think the percentage of people who are autistic and asexual is higher than the people that are autistic and heterosexual from what I've read. And I'm guessing from what I've read, this is because that, and actually from what I know as well, the people on the Asperger's syndrome, they Asperger's spectrum, who've got Asperger's syndrome or on autistic spectrum, they relate to people differently. There's quite a lot of, I mean, it says about there's a lot of social issues, but for me, there's a lot of communication issues. And I'm going to go through those with my experience of talking and having friends on the autistic spectrum, the difficulties which I see just as I've been friends with them. Because there are very, very a lot of things that highlight for me that would be very difficult in, for example, a romantic relationship. Even as a friend, I know those difficulties. So, because I know someone who I was friends with who is aromantic, and he did have romantic interests, actually, even though he was aromantic. But, it can cause issues. So I just want to put it out there that, that not every person who's autistic is automatically asexual, even though there's a lot that seem to be. So the based on the guy that I know that was sexual, and obviously other asexuals that have Asperger's, there's people who come to my asexual meetups that are as well. Then, one of the major character traits of people on the autistic spectrum is they tend to have an obsession with at least one thing. They obsess over something, at least one thing. Now, the heterosexual guy I knew that was friends with me for nearly a year, he unfortunately got quite obsessed with people, and he became quite controlling over me, and that is why I had to split friends with him. So that was an unhealthy obsession. I think in general, people who are on the autistic spectrum do tend to have unhealthy obsessions, because it is seriously an obsession. But I think having an obsession over something such as taking lots of educational courses, for example, is a healthy obsession, because you're educating yourself and you are developing yourself. So it's actually a good obsession. Whereas I think if you obsess over one person and become controlling over them, then that's a danger. And this person who I was friends with for almost a year, he was the first person I had been in close friendship with who was autistic. And it did actually put me off a little bit now I'm fine, because I know many autistic people are all different. But with him, when I had that, it really put me off being around people that are autistic, in the sense I was a bit scared, I was a bit worried, because he was really nice to me, and then he wrote me some really weird messages in the end, and I had to just block him, and he kept trying to get back in touch. He used to come into my work as well. And one thing that, pretty much all autistic people like is routine. They don't tend to like things going out of routine. They like set things time and time again. So if they eat their food at certain times of day, or if they go and see someone, they like to go at the same time to see them and meet up with them. They like consistency and routine and regularity, and they don't like change in general. This guy used to come into my work to see me, but he used to come in pretty much the same time every day, and the security people were like, "You're meant to be working." So, in the end, they asked me to tell him to leave. And, I just had to tell him, but he wasn't very happy about it. But obviously that was my work. And I had an asexual friend, and he used to go and sit in the cafe of a friend. Now, with autistic people, they say things very direct and very literal. And this is the real danger in relationships and friendships, of the miscommunication, misunderstanding, and could even be seen as hurtful. So basically, with autistic people who've got Asperger's, they are very direct and say exactly what they mean. So if they don't like something, they will literally say, "I don't like that." There'll be no thought of feelings or emotions involved. In my experience of the autistic people I've been around, they won't put thought and feeling into. I'm not saying they're like this all the time, but I'm saying at times they will come out with things which are really they're not. There's no how can I put it? There's no social etiquette there, because autism affects social skills, but I would call this more communication skills. Like, if someone's saying something to you, for example, if you're autistic, you won't just tell people what you do and don't like, matter of fact way. You will actually, if someone's telling you something, it's hard for you to actually be sympathetic or empathetic sometimes. It's kind of like unemotional. And if you were, for example, in a romantic relationship, or you had someone who even a friend who was saying to you, oh, I had this teacher today and he was really horrible to me. The autistic person might say, cool. And you're like, what? That's not cool. That's rubbish. That's bad. That's horrible. How can you say that? And they're kind of just saying cool as in an acknowledgement of you've told them. They're not really thinking in what the way a sort of average person would think is, that's not nice. That, wow, how are you feeling? You must be feeling really hurt by that. They don't tend to zoom in on the emotions of the person. They don't tend to use any tact or etiquette sometimes. It's just straightforward, like telling you the truth about what they think about you or something you've done. Or equally, if you tell them something that might have upset you during your day, they'll be very matter of fact about it. But, they could be like, seem cold and unempathetic and unemotional. So if you're trying to communicate on a deep emotional level and try and emotionally bond with that person, it's harder to bond with them, I think, because, they don't always understand emotions on the, I'm hurt now, I'm in pain, I'm emotional, I need a hug, or I'm feeling really down and this person's bad to me. They don't tend to think that way. So if I say something to a friend that, oh, that didn't go well, they might say great. And I'm like, no, that's the opposite of what you should be saying. You should be saying, that's bad. I'm really sorry for you. But they, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, why are you saying great? And I just have to think, okay, this person's autistic. So I think they mean that they're acknowledging what I say by using the word great, because it isn't great. And so this is how the relationship could be upsetting for a person who's not autistic to be with an autistic person, because the autistic person might unintentionally upset them or hurt their feelings or not be empathetic towards them and seem a little bit cold. However, with autistic people, once you have developed emotional connection with them, they kind of are quite, I think they only tend to be close to a few people, like really close to a few people. And if you end up getting their emotional connection, I think you can get it for life. And that's a good thing about being in a relationship with an autistic person, as I see it, is that, you can be more closely bonded once you have got that, because I think for the autistic person, it's very rare to get many people that they actually bond with and form that deep emotional connection with. In my case, my Asperger's depression itself is a high intelligence that I, in turn, used to understand social situations. That's really good, Michael. Yeah, there is obviously people who are autistic. They tend to make up for their autism in different ways by being super intelligent or super effective at other things. They have a gift. So like their autism is also like a superpower, as I would call it, which means they have at least another gift, if not more than one gift. But so, for example, someone might be autistic and might find it hard to communicate to a person, but they might be an excellent piano player and they might be able to play tunes that are far out of this world. Do you know what I mean? They might be a great singer. They might find it difficult to speak in person, but their singing might be fabulous, like higher up than, like better than a lot of people's. They might also have a higher IQ as well. So it's really good that that's the way it's happened for you, Michael. I'm really pleased for you with that. It's really good. I've also noticed with people with Asperger's, it does affect people differently, because like I went to around a zoo with a person who has Asperger's, very, very low attention span, and the person was literally storming around it. It was like they only wanted to stay there for a few seconds for each thing. Whereas I went round with Martin, who's on this channel to the aquarium, and I was a little bit concerned about that. Like, will I just be storming around everywhere really quickly and not have time to take anything in? And it was the opposite. He was really good. Like, I really enjoyed my time with him, and he wasn't rushing me around everywhere. However, he was on Pokemon Go because he's kind of obsessed with Pokemon Go, which I hope he doesn't mind me saying. I don't think he would. And obviously, if you've got a video game in, if you've got an obsession with something that you're, and if anyone who's got autism and's got obsessions with things, that's fine if they still communicate with their partner and give their partner time and attention, or their friends. If they're obsessed with the thing and it's meaning that they're not paying time and attention to the person they're with, then that can be very hurtful. So I found it's best to take an interest in their obsession, spend some time chatting to them, talking about it, and taking a deep interest and understanding it's a part of them, but also telling them directly that, I need time and attention on me when I'm speaking to them, and I need them to take time out from that obsession so that they can focus on what I'm saying and being friends. Or obviously I'm not in a relationship, but if I was with a relationship with an autistic person, they'd need to be focused on me. However, this doesn't necessarily mean to say this is the same for everyone. Who's autistic. I've got an autistic person who comes to my asexual meetups, every meetup, and he always looks at me when I'm talking. He doesn't get distracted. He actually pays me really a lot of attention. He's very attentive. He's really good at talking. He repeats himself a lot. He's on like a, I've heard what he said and then he'll repeat it a lot again and again. But, he's looks at me in the eyes. He talks to me. He pays me attention. So, do you know what I mean? It's very difficult for me to do this video because I'm trying to make some generalizations here, whereas in actual reality, I see people with Asperger's syndrome as obviously individuals with their own quirks and differences. I do think that all of them probably have some sort of obsession, but like I said, the guy who I was just talking to about paid me attention, I haven't actually seen any specific obsession with him. Not while I've been with him. I haven't seen him fiddle with anything, play with anything. He does, however, have things that on him, like certain items of clothing that are, that kind of a part of his identity. But like I say, I've got different experiences with all different autistic people, and so it's really hard for me to pin down any sort of general sort of issues. But I would say that, I would definitely say that from a couple of asexuals that I've known that have got autism, that sometimes they can be insensitive. But again, it depends on the autistic person, because not all autistic people have been like that with me. So I think different people have got different elements. But certainly I've been around a couple that just tell me straight stuff, and it's quite hurtful. But I remember they've got autism, so I don't take it to heart. And I think with all people that have got Asperger's, you have to be very direct with them. You have to. So you have to say exactly what you mean. They don't take hints and social cues, probably. So, from what I've read on the internet, the reason why people with autism have difficulties in relationships are the social issues. So, for example, when someone's trying to be sexy, they probably wouldn't necessarily understand what that person was doing. If they got someone flirting with them, they probably wouldn't know that person was flirting with them because they're not used to seeing things in the social norms like that. But the directness is what you have to be with them. So you have to say exactly what you want. So I would advise that if you are in a relationship or you've got a friendship with someone who's got Asperger's, that you be very, very clear about what you want. You know, if you feel that the person with Asperger's is not texting you enough, you know, tell them, I love to be texted by you, would like to hear from you daily to be texted. And obviously, if you are in a deep friendship with that person or love them, they love you, then they should probably want to do that anyway. Like, if you tell someone else, it might seem like, you know, a lot of the times in relationships, sadly, there's not enough direct communication. It's kind of a lot of game playing, a lot of, I call pussyfooting around it, you know, excuse it, because that could sound like sexual connotation. I didn't mean that. You know, that you could get a lot of prancing around the actual subject matter. Do you know what I mean? You could get like, oh, well, you know, like, I really like it when you text me. Like, that probably wouldn't be enough for a person with Asperger's. You'd have to say, I like it when you text me. Please, can you text me more? Or please, can you text me in the morning? Please, can you text me in the evening? Please, can you ring me here? You'd have to be very direct and blunt and tell them exactly what you want and spell it out to them. Which, if you're a direct person, like, I get on well, I think, with Asperger's people because I'm very, very direct. My language, the way I speak, what I talk about is just, you know, I'm a very black and white girl, to be honest, apart from with asexuality, where I have some grey areas with kissing and behaviour, which is absolutely absurd, since I'm black and white in nearly everything else in my life. But, you know, and I tell it like it is, and I like directness. I love directness. I think it's just a much better way of communicating, you know? Having said that, obviously, directness is best if it's coupled with empathy and tact and diplomacy and understanding the other person, how they're feeling. And I think, like say the person's upset, I don't think necessarily the person with Asperger's would know they're upset. Their brain wouldn't necessarily think that they're upset, but they might get into routines where they can actually recognize that after a while, because it's a routine for them. Like, the person might look a certain way when they say something, and routinely they might know, oh, that means that person's not happy, so I mustn't do that, or I must do this, or I must say this, or I must do that. So it's more like a logical thing, if you know what I mean. But you do have to be very direct, and I think that's what helps. I'm a very, very direct person. You know, I'll say, if I want attention paid to me and the person isn't paying me attention, I'll say, you know, can you put that away, please? I'm talking to you and I need your attention on what I'm saying. Whereas a lot of people, they will be just getting very angry inside that that person is being rude to them by not giving them any attention. I mean, I will actually say, I think it's rude that you're doing that. Or I don't think, you know, like, I appreciate, is that your chat on live chat or top chat? Because I made a comment that I think was filtered. Is your chat on live chat or top chat? I don't know. As far as I know, my chat's on live chat because I'm live. So I don't know, Michael. I haven't changed the settings on my chat, unless it's something that YouTube do. Sometimes they put stoppers on. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you are liking it, so I know you're liking it. So I've made some notes. So I'm just wanting to make sure. Right, okay. Okay. So I did learn from other sort of coaches. I did learn that people on the autistic spectrum show their love in different ways. Like, for example, in a relationship. And also there's an Aspie channel I've been watching, which I'm going to be sharing with you in a bit later. Live chat is uncensored. Top chat filters comments that YouTube think might be rude. I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I've always known when I've been on live streams with other people, I've seen it retract things that they think might be rude. So I don't know. I know I've seen other comments retracted, but I think that's because they retracted comments. I haven't got a moderator anyway. So, yeah, so when I saw these other coaches and stuff, they were saying, and when I saw this Aspie channel, they were saying that in relationships, they can show their love in different ways. They might buy them an item for the kitchen, which is not very romantic, for example, but it's their way of showing their love because they've bought something they thought might be useful or helpful. And also, yeah, I think that was the main thing, you know, that, and also they might do things for you if they love you. So they might, if you've got a hobby you're working on, they might ask you to help you and get involved in your hobby with you, or get involved with your interest with you, or if you need something fixing or doing, they might offer to do it for you. That's their way of showing they love you. And I think that would be in probably friendship, but I think it would be quite a huge sign that they are interested in a relationship with you more than friendship, according to what I've seen on the coaches that I've watched and channels. They would tend to show their love in a relationship. Censored comments are hidden rather than retracted. I'll repost my comment with stars in the word that I think triggered it. Okay, Michael, no problem. I'm laughing because, see, Michael's very direct. And he is kind of right now obsessed with the fact that his comment has got deleted. That's what I mean. I think of kittens creeping around when I hear the phrase pussyfooting. That's good, because that's what I meant. Thank you. Yeah. But it is a very good point you raised, Michael, because did you see how you were kind of obsessed with the fact that your comment had been retracted? So instead of just saying, oh, right, okay, I'll post it again now, I think I've answered you 3 or 4 times and said to you, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And that's how, but I don't mind because you're you and I'm me. But it's a really good example, actually, live, of how your brain works. It fixates on something until it's resolved, or until you got the satisfied answer. But my brain is actually like that, even though I've not got Asperger's. My brain does like, and the human brain in general, it does like answers. And, you know, so I don't think that's just totally unique to people with Asperger's. I just think with Asperger's, they have those qualities more. Because the human brain wants an answer, doesn't it? It naturally wants to know what's going on, like what's happening. You know what I mean? And it searches for answers. That's quite normal for everyday. My first question was whether you had your chat on top chat or live chat, because if you change your chat to live chat, my comment would have been revealed. Yeah, but I don't know the answer to that. I know you asked me a question, but I'm being direct with you now and say I don't know the answer to that. I've never even knew there was 2 different types of chat. I just thought there was one type of chat, and I don't know what settings mine's on. I just assume that as I'm live, it's a live chat. But I think I might have set a setting. I don't know if I ticked a box at all to say, I know that there's certain comments which I think are not live chat comments, they're ordinary comments, and I filter some of those. So some go into my spam folder, because I've had some really abusive comments. Because on this channel, obviously, because I cover asexuality, a lot of people think this is a channel about sex in itself and of itself, and I sometimes get really abusive comments, but the majority, they just go into spam and you never see them. And so I've got a certain filter on my comments, so that's my comments forever, do you know what I mean, unless I take it off. And that's so I don't get people being really nasty, and it's not nice. I mean, other asexuals on my channel, like you wouldn't like that if you saw some of the stuff they write. It's disgusting, and I just delete it. I'm like, you know, I haven't got time to waste. So pretty much the majority of comments on this channel are pretty nice, actually, not all of them. That's all right. It's a primary example that I think a lot of people with Asperger's do derail, because do you know Martin does that? He does that a lot, don't you, Martin? You'll come on my channel and then halfway through you'll go, oh, did you see your comment on here, Michael? Because at the top of the chat here on the live stream, it might say top chat with a down arrow next to it. See, don't you just love this conversation? Because it's people with Asperger's are taking on a life of their own on my channel. It's great. And so you see what I mean? Martin, for example, who requested this video, he will come on halfway through my video and start saying, oh, I'm doing projects at the moment. I'm multitasking, but I'm still watching you. See, and people usually wouldn't say stuff like that. They either would do it in quiet, or they wouldn't do it at all, because they'd just be giving their attention to the person in front of them. But I just know it's Martin. I'm used to it. It's just if I'm in the middle of something, I have to start what I'm saying again, usually. But I get used to it. I'd rather have people interacting on this channel than not, you know, because this channel is for you guys. That's why I do live streaming all the time at the moment. Every day of my life at the moment since the 1st of July, to help you. The problem is I'm logged in so I can see my own comments, even if they are filtered by top chat. We have a top chat live chat obsession now with autistic people in here. I just think it's a really good illustration of how people with autism do tend to get very obsessed with things, whereas most people would have let that information go by now. But if you're enjoying this live stream, carry on. I don't mind. I'm here for you guys to have fun and enjoy your life. So I was talking about people with Asperger's loving in different ways. So I think people with Asperger's who love people, they would tend to show that through things they do for them, or, you know, with logic as well. You know, like if you have hobbies, interests and stuff like that, they would probably want to help you out with them. And they probably... Oh, bless. So, you know, they would probably... I love this live stream. It's just really good. You can see how they think differently in action. It's wonderful. I love you guys. You're awesome. And I can't remember what I was saying now. I think I've covered most of the stuff on my list. Oh yes. So I was talking about loving. Yeah, I was saying they want to help you get involved with your hobbies, your interests, that type of thing, and help you out to achieve something. Actually, that's quite a manly thing to do, I have to say. So in traditional dating, in traditional coaching, which is to do with dating, they will teach about an alpha male, and the alpha male, and that you should go for an alpha male rather than not an alpha male, which I don't necessarily agree with. But one of the things they say about an alpha male is they like to be helpful. They're born with the instincts of helping people out, of helping. So for example, with a heterosexual guy helping a woman out, for example, who he loves, because he feels it's his place to be helpful. He wants to be useful and wants to do the manly sort of animal-based instinct of being the man, helping the person, being strong, helping them to succeed in life, and helping them to do something. They like to feel useful. Guys like to feel useful. So when I see a person who's autistic, who's got that character of helping someone out, it does kind of remind me of the alpha male type of trait that's supposed to be a very, very good trait. If you're heterosexual, for example, and looking to date a guy, for example, you know, that's supposed to be a very good male trait. So equally, someone who's got Asperger's, who likes to do the helping, help someone with the project that they love and they care about, that is, you know, will be seen by not just their friends and family, but by the whole of society, is a really good thing. And I think it is a good thing, you know. Also, something I want to cover, which can be quite difficult, is I want to cover the fact that some people with Asperger's do harm themselves. And it's not a topic that I like to bring up, but some of them do. Some of them get very angry and they can hurt themselves, or they can hurt walls and things. So they can hit themselves, or they can hit walls and get quite angry and things like that. Obviously, this isn't true for all people with Asperger's, but some people on the autistic spectrum can get like that. They can get, you know, punch walls and things because they get frustrated, especially if they find it hard to communicate, or they think less of themselves than they are. They're trying to punish themselves for some reason. And obviously, I have to say, don't do it. You know, don't hurt yourself. It's not good. It's not right. You shouldn't be doing it. You know, I have to tell you that. You shouldn't be harming yourself, you know. You should be using that energy, that's angry energy, and to put into constructive projects, you know. Like, go and put all that energy into sport, or go and put all that energy into your favourite video game, or go and put all that energy into a project, go and put all that energy into a course, you know. And if you feel angry, say that you feel angry. Don't hurt yourself, you know. One thing obviously with Asperger's people is they find it hard to communicate sometimes, not just with other people, but their brain is wired kind of differently, and that can translate into how they treat themselves. But, you know, there's a lot of people who self-harm, and if you're watching this right now and you do self-harm, I have to tell you, don't do it. There is no good going to come of it. If you hate yourself, it's not going to help you in life. You have to love yourself while you're here. And if you don't love yourself, start working on those aspects to change yourself, to love yourself. You know, in life, we have to love our weaknesses and our strengths. We have to change those weaknesses that we really can't stand about ourselves, but we still can't hurt ourselves in the process, because the hurting doesn't make the weakness go away. It, in fact, in a way, it makes it stronger, because you're applying more pressure on yourself. You're going to end up hating yourself more for hurting yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's not good. It's not good to get into that mentality, and that, you know, like I said, with obsessions, you don't, the last thing you want to do is get an obsession with hurting yourself, because that is really, really, you know, turning into a severe mental illness. And if you are going through that, you know, go and get some counselling, go and get some help. I don't, despite having a difficult home situation, because I've learned to accept anything negative that I can't change. Good, Michael. Listen to Michael's words in the live stream chat, people. You have to accept things that you can't change. You have to accept things that you can't change and change the things you can. You know, you know, if so, for example, last year I was made redundant from my job of 5 years. I loved my job, but there's nothing I can do about it. The company chose to make my hours reduced to part-time. I couldn't stay there. I had a choice where I could have stayed there on part-time, 14 to 16 hours a week. I couldn't survive on that, so I took redundancy pay, you know, which is a bit risky, but it's less risky because I couldn't stay there on those hours, you know. But I can't change that. But when, having said that, I mean, I've not got Asperger's syndrome, but years ago when I was made redundant for the first time, a long time ago, I blamed myself, and that was so ridiculous, right? I was made redundant from being a manager in a furniture company. I was a manager of Hammond's Furniture in a bed company. And I was so upset, and I blamed myself. And the host store was shutting down. If you don't know what a host store is, it's basically a store that has other stores within it. So I managed this bed department that, you know, bedroom department, sorry. Upstairs there was bed department opposite me. And I managed that for 3 years, and I loved that job. You know, I was good at it and I enjoyed it. And, you know, I kind of felt like my world was crumbling, and I blamed myself. But how could I possibly logically blame myself when the whole building was closing down and physically I wouldn't be able to get in there anymore? There's no logic in that. But for me, that was an emotional thing. I think some people with Asperger's make you think more logically, especially I've seen Michael thinks very logically on here. He thinks with less emotion, but I don't know if that is because he's aromantic as well, because I think aromantic asexuals, those who lack romantic and sexual attraction, I think they're a lot less emotionally involved in stuff. And I think that can be a bad thing if you wanted to be in a romantic relationship, because there tends to be needing a lot of emotional input there. But I think it can be a really good thing also in a relationship, because you can sort of put a little bit more logic to certain problems. But, you know, it would upset the person if you're putting logic in all the time, because a person would just want to emotionally connect with you and may want a hug and a cuddle, whereas you might be trying to logically just say something that doesn't actually seem very, very, how can I put it, very caring or very sensitive. Sensitive is the word I'm looking for. But, you know, there are good things to logic, you know, because like the other day when I was getting emotional over some private message that I got, Michael just looked at it logically and said, well, it's common sense. And as soon as he said that, I was happy all the rest of the night, and I've been a lot happier ever since. So I have to thank Michael a lot for that, you know, because that's the good side of Michael, and I'm guessing his aromanticism and Asperger's, is the fact that he's very direct. He said what he thought, and he just literally took away all my unhappiness that I was feeling about that stuff, that message, in an instant. And I'm like, wow, Michael, that's like medicine for the soul. I don't need to see a doctor. I don't need some psychologist. I just need Michael to say these things. And I'm like, yeah, it really helped me, Michael. I was absolutely, after I'd heard what you said, it's common sense. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? You know, it really, really helped me. No end. I was like, oh yeah. And it's like something happened on Avon recently, and that happened around the same time, like the day before. So it wasn't very good. And they're all kicking off on me, a lot of them, for the fact that I wrote that my asexual meetup's national. and they were trying to say that I was dividing the asexual community between national and local. And this person wrote in the forum that, well, I would never turn someone away just because they weren't local. And I never said those words. All I put was a national meetup, which is to attract more attention on Avon, so I get more people to my meetups, so they know that they can come from anywhere in the country, which I have people come from, a person come from Worcester every time, someone from Hertfordshire, a guy this time's coming from London, usually I have someone from London, I have people come from all over the UK to my meetups, and I just wanted to get more eyeballs on it. Well, it certainly got more eyeballs on it, but for some reason they associated the word national with negative connotations. I don't know personally how they can have got that. And I said, everyone's welcome to come to my meetup. I never said those words. I said, but a local meetup would be designed differently somewhat to a national meetup. A local meetup will just be, for example, I had me and there was 2 other asexuals at a local meetup. And one actually, he's got some mental health issues. And so he missed one of my meets, and 5 days later, he messaged me saying, I'm really sorry I missed your meetup, Sandra. I'd like to come to one. And what I did is I arranged just for me, him, another local asexual guy that I meet up, to just meet up all together. And he said, I'm a lot happier with that because, he's got some issues, like anxiety, like I still have some anxiety, and most of the people who come to my meetups have anxiety. So I really understand him. And, he was like, well, I really appreciate being in a smaller group because I do have social anxiety and I'm not used to being around people. He doesn't go out very much of the house. And, that he'd like, wait, how is it being national denying local people exactly? I didn't deny local people. I didn't deny anyone. That's what I mean. They were talking rubbish. Like Michael said, they weren't talking common sense. Even though Michael said this in relation to a message I got, he said, well, it's common sense that you don't have to be aromantic to actually, design aromantic t-shirts. Because first of all, in the thread where I wrote national meetup, I wrote my asexual Exeter meetup, the date and time was, all the details, national meetup, put it in the Ireland and UK thread. I know you're not denying them. I'm wondering how they came to that conclusion. Oh, yeah, okay, Martin. So basically, first of all, the first thing that happened in the thread was, I don't think you should be holding them in Exeter. I think the national meet should be in Birmingham or somewhere else. And that's the first thing I got. I'm like, my meetups I've done in Exeter for 3 years. It's not up for debate. Other people do asexual meetups in other areas. That's fine. I'm doing it in Exeter. It's already been planned. There's already 7 people coming before I even put it on Avon. I didn't even advertise it on Avon. I already have 7 people coming to the whole day, the meal and the day, and another person coming afterwards. Do you know what I mean? That was out of Avon. I arranged my asexual meetups across all the social media I do. Twitter, Facebook, Acebook, Asexuality, ASAP, whoever wants to come, and my regulars, So I don't actually need Avon to hold a meetup anymore. I haven't needed it for quite some time, but I get extra people coming, I get more people coming. And so, and I don't think anyone should have the right to tell people where to hold their meetups. And especially who in their right mind goes to a person who's arranged a meetup, got all the details out there, said there's already 7 people coming and an 8th person later, then tells them to change the venue. You just don't do that. I find that personally so rude. I really did. I found that so rude. And I don't agree that just because I live in, just because I'm not in some big major city like Birmingham, who already has meetups anyway, and some of the other cities, I don't agree that I should just have the, national meetups can just be in them cities. I told them, I said, I like to do things differently. This is the way, this is it. It's not open for debate. And then one of the other aces didn't like that and said, oh, you've put me off coming to Exeter for life now. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I don't mean to be funny, but it's like being in a school playground when you're 5 years old, being told what to do. It's like I'm an adult. I think I can decide for myself. And I did the Asexuality meetup talk at the UK Asexuality conference, how to hold an asexual meetup. And these are people coming in a thread where I've already organised a meet. I'm just informing people, whoever would like to come across the UK, please get in touch because I'd love to have you, you know? And then all of a sudden I'm bombarded with these comments about what they think, their opinions, what I'm doing, you know, and all this sort. So basically someone spoke to me about national meets and I said, oh yeah, they said, oh, why is it called a national meet? I don't understand that. No one's ever said that before in a thread. No one's ever tagged that. I mean, just because no one's ever done something before doesn't mean to say it's wrong. I just like to think differently, and I wanted more eyeballs on my thread, which obviously it did attract more eyeballs, but seems like the wrong ones. But I have got 2 people contacting me through it and said that they're very, you know, one of them's been before to my meetup. She's hoping to come again, and this other person that's been following me for a while on Avon. Sounds like some people just want an argument. Thanks, Andy. Nice to see you on here. Happy Ace Week. Lovely to see you. Yeah, so it's really difficult. I had to go off there in the end. I've only gone back on there tonight. I had to be off there since Thursday. I mean, I've been busy with Ace Week as well. Funny enough, if they get offended so easy, then they're turned off from attending for life, then it seems like a good outcome that they won't attend. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, well, the person who said, oh, well, I've been put off to come into Exeter for life. I said, well, I'm very, very sorry. You know, I'm using the empathy here. This is empathy for you. I'm very sorry you feel that way. As many people come to my meetups, because they also like visiting Exeter, not just to see other asexuals. And that's basically all I said, you know, but I don't want people like that at my meetups that have got that attitude. You know, I didn't do anything wrong. This is basically me inviting as many people as possible to come to the meetup because it's great. And so this one person said, I'm not trying to cause an argument, but I'm not trying to start something with their words, but, and this was how we got to talking about, but, you know, she goes, why are you trying to divide the asexual community? Because you said that you hold national meets and local meets only. So why are you trying to divide the community between local and national people? You know, she goes, when I first had my meetup, and I arrange meetups that are really successful now, blah, blah, blah. When I first arranged, well, I don't know if it's a she. I just presumed it was, but it might not be. Because when I first held my asexual meetup, there was a person who came. All you were doing is encouraging more people to attend. No need to get hung up on the words local, national. Exactly. But it's seriously, I had to come off there with so much negativity. My mind was really, really not in a good place after that. I just felt, you know, I'm trying my best here to bring people together because I love asexual so much, being happy. You know, I'm getting a bit upset now and emotional because, you know, I'm trying to help people here. I'm not trying to hinder people. I'm not trying to separate people. And when people are accusing me of something that I'm blatantly not doing and putting words in my mouth that I never said in the first place, I personally find it very disgusting, rude. And, you know, it's a form of bullying, in my opinion, as well, because they're all kind of ganging up on me in there. It's like, geez, you know, one after the other. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You know? And I'm having to explain myself. I don't actually have to explain myself, but I'm trying to do it out of a place of understanding for them. So, you know, this, because I mentioned I do separate local meets only, I find a good rule of thumb is if someone says I'm not, negative action, but it means they're going to do X and don't want you to notice because of how obvious it is. Exactly. When they say I'm not trying to start something, it's obvious they are. And they wrote this whole thing about, oh, well, you say local only, national, well, I'd never turn someone away. And they had the gall. I put my video up for them to watch from the asexual meetup talk. So they could actually see my talk, but they obviously didn't watch it because this person who is saying how great their asexual meetups are, how much success they are. But I did wish them. I said, well done on your success. That's great because I'm happy for people who have other successes. You know, she goes, oh, when I first had the asexual meetup, it was me and another person, 2 other people, and the other one was from out of town, like another county, or I don't know if she put county or country even. You know, she goes, I don't know why you're dividing the community. So that's what it seems like you're doing. Why are you doing that? It's not very good for us. And I said, she said, I would never turn someone away. I said, well, I wouldn't. And I said, but local meets are done differently to national meets. And then I gave the example of when that person who has mental health difficulties who just met me and my friend for 2 hours. I said, we met for a couple of hours for lunch, a drink, and that was it. I said, but anyone's welcome to come to that. I said, if people want to travel up and down the country for 2-hour lunch and food, and if someone wants to travel, from the whole world, and where around the world's you know, I'm happy to have them. If they want to pay if they don't mind paying to come and travel on a plane all that way across the globe, and they don't mind the the accommodation costs, and they don't mind the high prices at short notice for a 2-hour meet-up for drink and lunch, I said, sure, they can go ahead. Please PM me. That'd be great. I don't mind. You know, I'd love to have them. But you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, you know very well what I'm saying. In other words, I don't care where anyone is in the world, they're welcome to my meetup. But I don't think a person is going to want to travel, from an example, from Australia or even all the way from London for 2 hours of lunch and food. But maybe they do, because I had someone the other day couldn't believe my asexual meetups go on for a whole day. They're like, what? We go to London and it's like 2 hours. So maybe other people do things completely different in other areas, which is fine. I don't have a problem with the way other people do things. Go for gold. I won't interfere with what they do. Why on earth should people interfere what I do? You know, the only people I'm answerable to is myself, the places that I organise things with for the asexuals, and the asexuals who come. That is the only people I'm answerable to, not people who never attended one in their life of my meetups, and who clearly haven't even watched my asexual meetup talk when they'd realised that I had 2 people come to my meetup, one that lived in my city and one that didn't. And I did say to this person as well, I said, well, what you class as local is probably completely different to what I class as local, because I class local as all of Devon, Cornwall, Somerset and Dorset. That's what I class as local, because she was implying that there was someone from another part, like another town or city, and I wouldn't allow them in. And I'm like, no, even the asexual meetup that I had, just me, my friend, and this person with mental health difficulties who wanted something smaller anyway, he had to travel on a coach an hour and a half, you know, to come to my meetup. That isn't it's not far from where I live, but it's still an hour and a half. And he is coming to my big meetup now, my main national one, which is what I posted. I said, you know, he's coming to a national meetup now, and I'm really happy for him. He's made that progress. He's gone from a small meetup for me and 2 others to going to my national meetup. I said, this is a really great achievement, and I welcome people with mental health difficulties. You know, anyone who's got food allergies can come to my meetups. Anyone who's got disabilities can come. You know, a lot of my meets are very catered towards people with mental health difficulties, to be honest. The majority of people that come to my meetups have anxiety. You know, I used to suffer depression years ago, which I don't tend to suffer with anymore, but I do still get some anxiety. And obviously when people are writing comments like this in the thread, it is hard for me personally to deal with. It sounds like they interpreted local meetup to mean a meetup for locals, restricting that to only people in a small area. Exactly. That's how they interpreted it. You know, but I actually classed Devon, Cornwall, Somerset and Dorset. But even so, even if it was just local, you know, locals, whatever you make it, innit? But, you know, at the end of the day, if I'm just meeting up with a friend, so this friend in Exeter, I meet up with him anyway, just me and him on my own. I meet up with asexuals who I'm really good friends with, just one-to-one. That's still an asexual meetup, technically. But if I just want to meet with that one person, I don't have to ask permission. Oh, hi, I'm meeting one person. Excuse me, I need to tell all the community about it, because I need permission to go and meet one person. But if you want to join us, you know, sometimes some asexuals might want a smaller group. I don't have to post on Avon that I'm having a meet-up. I don't have to post anywhere. I can just arrange a meet-up. Anyone can just arrange a meet-up. You know, they can make it really local. They can make it just a city meet-up if they want. But, you know, it's like having different categories of books. You have a non-fiction book, you have a fiction book, you have a romance, you have a fantasy. You know, it's catering to different markets. So if you have a local meet-up, you might, you know, like I've had some interest recently from people in my city, like, you know, thinking about having a meet up with people actually in my city, you know, because we might be like free of an evening and we might be doing nothing much, and we might want to meet up, like 4 of us or 3 or 4 of us, just have an Exeter meet up, because, you know, we don't need to tell you about that. We just communicate by ourselves and say, let's have an Exeter meet up, you know? Let's just go and get together, basically. It's a get together, you know? It's like people meet all the time, but they don't call them meetups. But in the asexual community, it's called asexual meetups. I mean, obviously, if I meet person on one-to-one, usually I don't call it a meetup. I just say it's meeting a asexual friend, you know? I don't really say it's an asexual meetup. Usually I say if it's more than one person, but actually an asexual meetup is one person. That's all it takes for an asexual meetup. If you watch my asexual meetup talk, all it takes for an asexual meetup is you and one other person. That's all it takes. You know, you don't have to tell the whole world or every single county or community or what or place, you know, that that you've got to meet up. The ironic thing, you need to understand something which I've not mentioned. The irony of all this situation, right? The real funny part of it, right, is I got told by two admins, I got told off on Avon, right? And the reason I got told off in a private message by admins, right? I got an unofficial warning. Like, I got told this is not an official warning, but I'm telling you. And then I got some other admin come in, tell me the same. And do you know why? Because they said my meetups, I should not be discussing further afield than local. I should not be doing what I'm doing. I shouldn't be private messaging any people about my meetups who don't live in the local area. This is the irony of the situation. That just like 1 or 2 days before I get this message, and it's like, you shouldn't be doing this, you know. And they were telling me informally that you're not to do this again. And they said, you're spamming. They said, have you seen the terms and conditions of Avon? You're basically spamming. And I was trying to prove to them that I wasn't spamming. That you know, they said, well, this is not relative to Exeter. This is not relative to where you live. This is further afield. Why are you messaging them? I don't think it's relative. You haven't read the terms and conditions of Avon. You shouldn't be doing this. And so I actually got told off for for talking about meetups that are further away from what they considered as local. Yeah, there they are. The other people, when I post, I got told that I could. So in the end, I established with these people, these admins, or admons they're called, what I am and am not allowed to do on Avon in terms of posting about meetups, which is kind of crazy because it's like you're 5 years old. And you know, I was trying to prove to them I'm not spamming, you know, because I said, well, I class local as Devon, Cornwall, Somerset, Dorset, and also I class it as even Cardiff and Oxford. I would class in my catchment area because those type of people would probably come to my meetups. And I said that I didn't understand why I don't consider what I did as spamming, because I didn't post the thread to my meetup in discussions from other places. So, for example, I said to them, you know, like with Cornwall, for example, someone posted I'm from Cornwall. So I just said, oh, hey, I'm not from Cornwall, but I'm in Exeter. And I just let you know I hold asexual meetups in Exeter if you ever want to come to one. Now, to me, that isn't spamming. That isn't being rude. In fact, it's being very welcoming and inviting to let them know there is a meetup they can go to, even if it's not in their direct area. Because when you're asexual and you go on, you've just found your feet and you're just coming on a forum posting about, hey, is anyone else in my area? And if there's either no replies, you know, does this mean if I tried to go to a meetup in Scotland, someone would stop me because I'm not local? It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And the fact they said about private messaging, I mean, it's obvious they read our private messages then, isn't it? That's all I can say. I thought private messages on Avon were private. But if the first admin said that, the second one didn't, but the first one did. And two of my private messages were to do with meetups, but they were both people who, one had been in one of my threads already, the Are There Any Aces in the Southwest thread, and the other person actually attended a previous meetup. You know, so I wasn't even spamming. I was speaking to people who were genuinely interested in coming, you know, and so I was trying to say to them, you know, that I posted it in someone who posted about Cornwall and Oxford. I posted that just to let you know I do meetups in Exeter. You know, to be honest, I think we should be throwing the doors wide open on all the meetups across the country. I don't think we should be being restrictive, and that's what's making me laugh in an ironic way that these people in the thread that I posted the word national in were saying that I was being divisional in the asexual community when I clearly wasn't, because anyone can turn up anyway or come, you know, that wants to. And yet here I was in private message being told that I was being too wide and that I should be not messaging people that live out of my area, which they classed as basically, you know, like I don't exactly know what they classed, but they told me they don't actually class Cardiff and Oxford as part of my part of where I should be posting, you know. But I don't post my thread. I'm not posting a thread. I'm posting a comment like I'm talking like a human being. You know, they said that I was posting the thread and they said they'd had lots of complaints. And especially for newbies, it's really bad. But I don't know who does these complaints, where it's people who are admins themselves or where it's actually people who are in the threads that see what I write. So it's really difficult, you know. It's just completely balmy. I thought, you know, it's going from one extreme, being told off and being too wide open, to going to, oh, you're not opening up wide enough. I mean, how can I win? I simply can't. And like, you know, like Michael said about being common sense, you know, it's common sense if you're holding what you would say is a local meetup, that really you probably wouldn't, like, you know, tell the whole of the nation about it, because if they're going to come from London for just a 2-hour meal and drink, you know, and they need to stay over in hotel accommodation and get transport, and it's a last minute thing as well, with it being kind of local, like I might just decide like 7 days before or something, you know, it's going to be really, like, I'm not being very thoughtful to those people, isn't it, really? Do you know what I mean? I mean, if they happen to be in the area, come, I mean, they can obviously come if they want to travel that far, but that's what I mean. You don't have to tell the whole world and explain to yourself that you're having a meet-up. You can have them however you want to have them, you know? I would never turn someone away, but it's common sense that a local meet-up is arranged differently to a national meet-up. With national, I give them 4 to 6 weeks notice. With national, I help them with hotels and suggestions for hotels and transport, and they book hotel accommodation and transport up, like, we're, you know, in a month in advance. That's different. It's national. I plan things to do as a whole group together, and I try and plan the days out, what we're going to do together. You know, I mean, we might just sit and chat one of the days and go for walks and stuff. It might not be doing stuff all the time, like entertainment and things. But, you know, I arrange it in such a way that people are, you know, they're there for days, spending time with other asexuals all day, you know, providing they want to. They don't have to stay all day if they don't want to. But do you see what I mean? There's a lot of different planning that goes into it. There's a lot of, like, messaging around people, like, have you booked your hotel yet? Have you got your transport sorted? Are you definite? Like, I need this, like, for example, with this particular meetup, someone can't just drop in to the meal because this is a sit-down restaurant meal. I've told everyone I need their answers where they can come or not by the 31st of October, so I can get definite restaurant hotel. Sorry, I keep thinking of hotel bookings. Definite restaurant booking. You know, because the restaurant's only open 12 till 2:30. And we need to be there at midday, all of us, you know, because they cook the food on the premises. It's freshly cooked. They need time to do that. We need time to eat it and chat and just chill, you know, before we're going to see the Christmas lights later. There's bands on. There's a Christmas market open. Do you know what I'm saying? I need to have, you know, people, because some meetups you can just drop in, but this is a differently organised one. It's common sense that different meetups will have different people, different ways of organising it. It's common sense that you're going to do someone's for more local people than you are on a national level, you know, and you wouldn't necessarily invite everyone from who's national to a local meetup, but it doesn't mean to say you turn them away either. Of course you wouldn't. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's common sense that local meets are organised differently to national meets. It's common sense, isn't it? But obviously they don't have any, and not in that way anyway. So yeah, I was really pleased as well. You know, I was really pleased that I did a meet up for just me and this other guy who, like I said, you know, now he's coming to a bigger meet, you know, and that was suitable for him. That was like a meet up that was very tailored towards him. And actually, I did post about it on Avon. I posted it on the Are there any aces in the Southwest thread? And I did invite one other person who couldn't come by private message. So I did actually put it out there in sort of more of the local meetup thread, which is where I used to post it in the first place. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you. You know, I was saying that the restaurant booking has to be booked up at a certain time because it's a certain time they do lunch. So people can't just drop into this, and that's the way I organise it. I'm very organised on my meetups, you know, very organised, and I think it's a shame people didn't even watch my video in that thread to know that I held a meetup first of all, and I was with 2 asexuals, one of which wasn't even in my city. So do you know what I'm saying? I wonder who the dislike is from. What, on Avon? Oh, you can, you know, it's for more than one person, Michael. I just let it wash over me. I mean, I was like, my mind, you know, I don't I like it to wash over me because I think it's ludicrous. But, you know, and obviously admons, I won't reveal who they are because it's not fair to them. And I do appreciate anyone telling me, you know, if something's wrong. On this stream, there's 3 likes and 1 dislike. Oh, is there? I can only see 3 likes. I can't see the dislike at all. I can only see 3 likes. But then probably doesn't show the dislike. I don't know why they put dislike unless it's because they came partway through my stream when I mentioned the differences between where I mentioned how alpha male heterosexual being helpful, and then, you know, they might have seen that bit and not bothered listening to anything else and thinking I'm not talking about asexuality. I really don't know. But, you know, I don't want to, you know, I'm very careful what I put on this channel, but that's the type of thing I've had problems with in the asexual forums. But the reason I brought that up is because, Michael, when you told me about the fact of that private message that an aromantic can, you know, you don't have to be aromantic to organise an aromantic meetup. I need to go in a minute. My brain's going now. You don't have to be aromantic to design an aromantic t-shirt. You know, that's common sense. Similar, it's quite common sense if you organise meetups that are more for local people than national people with the intention of that, because obviously you've got to have, whatever you're doing in your life, you have to have a goal, you have to have an objective. So if your objective is to have a local meetup, you will tend to invite locals, however you define local. As common sense, local meetups will be organised differently in some ways to national meetups, and it's common sense that some people will have both local meetups and national meetups and all sorts of meetups, because you cater for different types of people and different types of, you know, requirements, don't you? I mean, I've got 5 different groups for all different types of asexuals, you know? You know, it's just catering for different niches. It's not dividing people, it's actually specialising in people and their wants and their needs and their likes and their dislikes. Being a specialist rather than just a complete generalist. But obviously when you're doing national meetups, you're more of, you know, your objective is to invite people who are national. But, you know, I have things planned and I organise things really well. So the people come time and time again because they know I'm reliable. They know I organise things. They know I've got everything sorted here for them that I could possibly get sorted. They know I'll take care of them and look after them and cater to their needs. You know, it's very different to people who come on Avon and go, oh, I'm thinking about going for a coffee. Does anyone want to meet me? Do you know what I mean? I mean, there is no surprise why most people don't actually meet up, because that's just so vague. There's no time, there's no date. It's just a like thought put out there. It's not making anything happen, which is why I started doing asexual meetups in the first place, because no one was taking any action. It was all talk, you know? So I have no problem with the fact I do local and national meetups, but I would never, ever turn someone away. Anyone's welcome to come to any of my meetups. And that's the truth. Anyway, I hope this video has been useful, helpful, insightful. Thank you, Michael, for your input. Before I end it, I want to show you someone I follow on YouTube, which is an Aspie person, because this is obviously to do with autism, this video. I'm going to see if I can change it around. So I just wanted to look at the definition of autistic as well, because I think that's really important, which I probably should have done in the beginning. But autism is a mental condition present from early childhood, characterized by great difficulty in communicating and forming relationships with other people and in using language and abstract concepts. So I think that's why would be an explanation as to why it's difficult for people who are asexual and autistic to form relationships, because that's what I said, isn't it? For me, it's to do with communication. I think it's, you know, well, I've mentioned in this video earlier about the different forms of communication where, you know, you can be very direct and seem unsympathetic. You have great insights into the autistic spectrum. Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. I can't remember. Are you autistic as well? I can't remember. I think, you know, it's up to you if you want to say or not. Michael's autistic. He's watching this. And so's Martin. So you don't have to say, it's fine. But yeah, but thank you for saying I've got good insights into it. I appreciate that. So that's the autistic definition of autism. Now I found this here, this website that might help you. It's called autism-help.org. So it talks about autism, Asperger's syndrome, and it's got loads and loads of different things to click through I haven't read it. I've just found it on the internet before I did this video. So I was trying to find out. I don't mind saying, okay, Andy, that's great. If you want to say, go ahead. So, overview of autism, screening, diagnosis, sensory system. Yeah, and if you are having a relationship or want a relationship with someone with autism, you'd have to tell them outright. I don't think they don't tend to take hints. You have to tell them, like I said about being very direct. You'd have to say, I'm interested in a relationship with you. Even if the other person wasn't, you'd have to ask them. Basically say, are you interested in a relationship with me? Yes or no? Or do you like me more than a friend? Yes or no? And if so, do you like me to have a relationship with, or do you not like me to have a relationship with me and just keep me as a friend? You have to be very, very direct and blunt, because that's how they think and that's how they talk as well. So that's how you have to, but look, I mean, this has got so much stuff on here. So, do you know what I mean? You might want to take a look at this. I haven't, gone into details, but I just thought it might be a good thing for you to look at. And, it does, because I Googled about asexuality and it did came up. But it has all this stuff about it, which is a bit weird. It has sex tips for geeks. It's like talking about a book. Oh my God. That's only if you want to be with a sexual and have sex, isn't it, really? But it goes on here about how to meet partners if, you've got autism. So it's saying, partway through here, since men want sex from relationships, they often try to be or appear to be more loving to attract sexier women. Since women want love from relationships, they often try to be or appear to be sexier to attract the most loving and supporting men. The idea in both cases is for each partner to give the other what they want in order to receive what they want. Just as there are men who might make a practice of one-night stands for the purpose of acquiring sex from many women, there are women who make a practice of one-night stands for the purpose of acquiring love from many men. These men and women can be destructive to the self-esteem and non-autistic people in general, and devastating to the autism spectrum people. I'll read that back again. These men and women can be destructive to the self-esteem of non-autistic people in general, and devastating to autism spectrum people. This doesn't necessarily mean that they should be avoided or that all people who behave like them are like them. The trick to understand these men and women is knowing that they go for unattainable people. Many of the rules regarding discretion and promiscuity are designed to weed such men and women out. In my past experience, autism spectrum people can be caught out by such rules when meeting people. Men tend to want to be respected, but women tend to want to be cherished. Going for the less attractive potential partner is not a good way to improve your chances. The relationship between partners typically does not change in the bedroom. If it does, rapport either deepens or the relationship changes for the worse. In many ways, the social interactions between partners outside the bedroom can be considered practice for inside. This may be figuring out what kind of person someone is this might be why figuring out what kind of a person someone is such a popular pastime. And then it's got where to find potential partners. And I think it's in relation to if you find it hard to socialise, these are some of the places you can find partners, like at work, church, school, friends, sports teams, grocery stores, chat ups. I mean, if you're not into sex and you're autistic, then it's, it's not really that relevant, is it, some of this? But if you're thinking about having a relationship with a sexual, then it will be. But, it does say at the beginning here that many more people say autistic adults have in general differences in sexuality from the norm. Many more are asexual than in the average population. It is believed that there is a slightly higher percentage of gays, lesbians, bisexual and transgender autistics than in the average population. Bisexual or homosexual aspies may find more potential for sex and or relationships in the gay community, where there is less emphasis on conformity. Girls and women who are autistic, can have more chance of success in relationships, generally speaking, than men. This is due to differences in social requirements, where a man is often expected to ask a girl for a date rather than vice versa. Living in a society where long-term relationships and starting a family are the norm, it can be very hard for socially inexperienced men with Asperger's to find a partner, and some stay away from dating for that reason. Some of those on the autism spectrum are celibate by choice, feeling that they are asexual or that they are more important things to life in life. Others have resigned themselves to celibacy due to the fact that romantic or sexual relationships can be much harder to find due to the misunderstanding of social skills and the difficulty of finding a suitable partner. Aspie couples are often more successful than Aspie neurotypical couples, yet this is not done often as Aspie gender ratios has a lot more diagnosed males than females. It is thought that there is often undiagnosis of females. Sexual feelings may develop later than usual, and relationships can start in the 20s and 30s rather than in teenage years, as for neurotypicals. Source is the Aspies for Freedom wiki. So this is actually what they've done, but this is still on the autism help-help.org. This is the actual, I'll just click the address for you to see. So this is what, say, Asperger's sexual adults, you know, so you can have a look at that link. And then there's a guy who's oh yeah, this is really interesting. This is a guy who I got recommended by another asexual friend to go on his channel and learn a bit about Asperger's. So this guy channel is called the Aspie World, and he has got a relationship with, I think it's with a female, if I remember right. I haven't watched it for a while. And so he does talk about difficulties in his life and in his relationship. Like, he was the one who said he bought his partner something for the kitchen, which, you know, wasn't very romantic, but to him, he was doing a loving gesture and showing his love. But it was like, do you know what I mean? I think that was him. There was a dating coach that I listened to as well, that actually was talking about people with Asperger's as well. So I think it was this guy, unless I'm getting mixed up with a dating coach. But, you know, there's a lot of good information from an actual Aspie point of view in here. He's got tons of people on his channel. And he does say about getting frustrated and about feeling overwhelmed and stuff like that. And I have to say, you know, it can be overwhelming for people with Asperger's to be in social situations where some people who are Asperger's, they don't like being in crowds. They can't stand a lot of people around them. They feel really uncomfortable, unsafe, unhappy. So they have to be around people that are either one-to-one or in smaller groups to feel safe, comfortable and happy. So it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but in general, I think that people with Asperger's tend to prefer smaller groups or one-to-one because they get overwhelmed by being around too many people. So yeah. So see what causes autism. It's a load of videos here. So, you know, do watch these. They're very interesting. If you have got Asperger's, you hopefully will find them useful and helpful. And then there was someone on Avon. I'm going to come back to that because I don't like showing the person who they are. Yeah. So oh, sorry. So yeah, there's a person and they go, I might be on the autism spectrum. So confused. This is on Avon. So they basically, I'm not going to read all this out, but they basically will talk about the fact they've always had special interests, I suppose, when I was younger. I thought personality was so interesting to the point I would obsessively study personality theory and knew everything there was to know. It was a bit ridiculous, but I loved it. This is going back to what I said, that autistic people are usually got some sort of obsession in their life, at least one. Then careers. I would obsessively go on career websites and study different career paths. At one point, I could tell you the exact job description and salary of basically any job in America. I love to plan and would rather make charts about my future college and career options. Starting when I was around 12 years old, I was probably the only sixth grader that had an account on College Board. Ha ha. The nutrition and calorie counting, then gender and sexuality. So, yeah, it's just like you can tell that this person has had some obsessions in their life. And I think people with Asperger's, like, again, you can tell there's quite a lot of logic in there in what they're saying, and they like to plan things. But, you know, that can also be a sort of symptom of anxiety. Like, I like planning things in advance. I like to know where I'm going, what I'm doing, because I like that sort of certainty. Do you know what I mean? I'm better with change than I used to be, and I can ad lib and I can do all sorts of things, you know. But I do tend to like some like stability. I like to know where I am with things, and I think I can really. Oh, I've got something else to tell you about Asperger's. Just reminded me that was on my list that I haven't mentioned. So yeah, you know, I liked it. I think people with Asperger's are very similar. I think people with Asperger's are very similar to me in the sense of the anxiety thing. In the sense that we do like some sort of normality, normality, and we like some sort of like, you know, sort of structure. Like, I don't need so much structure that I'm so rigid that I have to be at a certain place at a certain time, like a lot of people with autism might have to do. They might check the time as well, like quite obsessively check the time of where they're going, and they have to be at a certain restaurant or meet a certain friend. So I'm not like that, but I do understand the fact that having some structure and planning ahead and knowing exactly what's going to happen. You know, one of the people watching this channel, Martin, and me are very similar like that. Mine comes from a place of anxiety, really, but I think Martin probably has that as well. Because I think people who have autism in general, I think a lot of them tend to have anxiety as well. I think that goes hand in hand with autism quite a lot of the time. I think because your brain works differently anyway to most people's, and I think that can cause you anxiety because you can end up in situations which are not normal for you. They're normal for other people, but they're not normal for you. So I think, you know, because I do have some anxiety still, I haven't completely got rid of that. I can relate to Asperger's people really well in that way because I need to plan things out. I need to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, what time I'm going. So if I'm going, for example, when I went to London to UK Sexuality Conference, I had to know what time I was going to be at the conference, you know, where we're going to get lunch, hopefully. But I wasn't so rigid with lunch, but I needed to know that there was food in the area. So I was making plans for whereas like Nando's and places like that because I can't eat in many places. I like to, you know, but that can also be coming from a place of organisation as well. But again, that's how my personality goes really well with people with Asperger's. That's how a friendship or relationship could work well, in the sense that because I have some anxiety, it makes me display some of the same traits and have some of the same types of things I need to do as someone with Asperger's because I like planning things. I like organising things. I'd rather the majority of time organise something for like say 5 or 7 days in advance where I know that, you know, I can give that person my full time and attention and I know I've sorted all the other things out I need to do in my life than just someone showing up on my doorstep, you know. Having said that, I do have like friends, you know, and they do give me less notice. I've got a female best friend and she likes a lot more spontaneity than I'm used to, but I got used to it more now. So I will be more spontaneous than I used to be, but I do like to plan ahead. And it was really good when me and Martin did actually spend time together in London because we were both very similar to this. Like Martin's got Asperger's, but I haven't. We were very similar in this way. We need to know what's going on the whole time. So we had some Skype chats and that's really good. And I think, you know, that's a good tip if you've got, if say you've got a friendship with a person who's got Asperger's and you're going somewhere together, it's really important that you both get on Skype and start chatting with each other. That's what we did, and we made sure that we both, you know, like Martin saying, I need to know this because, you know, I need to basically, my mind needs to know what it's doing. And I'm like, well, I'm exactly like that. So we're exactly identical on that, but for different reasons. And, you know, it's really important that we had each other's backs like that. And, you know, and kind of like, because I've come from a place of anxiety, the difference was for me is like, he didn't book the train and accommodation up, the accommodation, especially, he didn't book up the same time as me. And that, for my anxiety, did panic me a bit because I was like, well, what if he can't get the same hotel? Because he wanted to be in the same hotel, obviously, because we were going to the conference together and he was filming me for the conference. And as friends, we like to be together anyway in the same hotel. So it was kind of like freaking me out. And he was taking all that in his stride. Whereas with other stuff, he was like, oh, no, I need to know what's happening now. And, you know, on this day, what are we doing this? What are we doing then? And so he was freaking out about the other thing. So we were both like doing the same sort of thing, but for different reasons in different areas of the trip. So that was very interesting. But one of the things I really forgot to mention is I think people with Asperger's tend to have childlike qualities. The people that I know with Asperger's, the majority of the ones I know, they've got the majority. I'm not saying all, because I don't know the ins and outs of all the people with Asperger's that I have, but some of them, a good proportion that I've known or do know, have childlike qualities. You know, they have these childness about them. And because I like to be like a teenager naturally, you know, I purposely like a teenager, you know. I like to live like a teenager. If I was in a relationship, I like a teenager style relationship. You know, like you see on these teenager movies where they kiss, they cuddle, they don't care what the world thinks. You know, they'll kiss in the park, they'll kiss when they're going around the zoo, they'll kiss when they're walking into the city together, they'll hug each other, they'll cuddle each other. It's like them against the world type thing. They'll have moments of tenderness. They'll be well into each other and chatting to each other until the early hours in the morning. They'll watch movies together and have meals out and go to theme parks, these aquariums. That's the type of relationship I want. So from that point of view, you know, from the sort of teenager on purpose type of life I live and the type of relationship I want, I do go well or better with some people with Asperger's who have those childlike qualities, because I like them. I find them riveting. I find them interesting. I find them attractive, because I don't too much adult serious stuff. It just becomes a bit of a, I don't want to get dragged down into being too much acting your age, if you know what I mean. Having said that, obviously, if they're childlike and you want serious adult conversations about your relationship with them, and they're not showing you empathy, they're being very direct, I don't like this about you, it's not going to help, and there's going to cause conflict and confrontation. And when they need to be an adult, they can't be, because they can, you know, some of the asexuals. Oh, even the sexual guy that I knew was like that as well. That was Asperger's, you know. So the childness is great in an entertaining way, in a having fun together way. But when it comes to the seriousness of the relationship, you really need a person to be an adult and to talk seriously and to have empathy and sympathy. And, you know, like you might just want to hug because you might have had a bad day, and they might think that they want to try and solve your problem for you. Whereas, or, you know, they might lack empathy. You might say, I've had this really tough day. This person did this person did that. And they might say, oh, good. And you're like, crikey. What the hell are they saying good for? I'm really upset. Can't they see that? And that just causes more anger, resentment, and upsetness. And then you feel that you're unclose to that person, because you know the autistic person, their brain doesn't think in the same way. Their brain doesn't think, oh yeah, that's really bad. That person must be feeling bad right now and upset. I must give them a cuddle, or I must ask them to, you know, if they want to talk about it more. If they don't, I must, you know, like kiss them now. Kiss their forehead or something, and they won't get all the cues. So like if I wanted to kiss a guy with autism, I'd probably have to say I'd like a kiss now. Do you know what I mean? Which after a while could get quite tiresome for the person who's not autistic, keep having to tell the other person what to do all the time, because that again is a bit like childlike. You know, you're telling like I don't want to be a mother to a guy, even though I like younger guys and I like playfulness and I like a teenager style relationship. I don't want to be telling the guy what to do. But if I was in a relationship with a person with Asperger's, especially the people that I know with Asperger's, the majority of them, I think I'd have to tell them what to do, because I don't think they'd know. I don't think they'd take the hints from me. Maybe some of the older ones would, I don't know. But the younger people that I know, I don't think, the people that are more childlike, I don't think they'd be able to take the hint. I don't think they'd understand. I think I'd have to blatantly make it obvious what I want all the time. And it's great because I'm direct, but after a while it gets a bit much, you know. It's like, well, I just want you to understand me, and it can feel like I'm not being understood. And then the Asperger's person could feel like a bit hurt or upset, like or not understand my behaviour, and think, well, she's behaving a bit weirdly. Why is she being like that with me? Because they don't understand that the thing that's upset me. They don't have the empathy. They don't have the emotional intelligence in that way, if you see what I mean. They have more logical, factual intelligence, whereas emotions doesn't enter into it so much. Don't forget that not everyone is like this. There's a person on this channel who I think you saw earlier called Andy, he's, you know, I would say not an unemotional person. So yeah, I think, Andy, you said that you have Asperger's, didn't you, earlier? You said you don't mind saying. So if you do have it, I'm not going to say for you. It's up to you whether you want to say you have it or you don't. And I couldn't quite remember. And so, you know, it's up to you. I don't, you know, everything's private that I talk to you about in private anyway. So anyway, where, you know, like if you have got it, for example, you are, I would say, an emotional person. And if you have got Asperger's and you're an emotional person, I would say you're very different to other people who I've experienced with Asperger's. Yes, I have said above. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. So I didn't want to. Yeah, so I would say you're very different in that way, because I'd say you're a very emotional person. I say probably that you might still need to be told things, though, like, you know, with women and stuff. I don't know, you know, like, if you weren't obvious. But I think that you are a very emotional person, very different in that way to the other people I've met who have autism. You know, some people with autism can come across as very clinical, unemotional, unempathetic. But they've got such other beautiful qualities. You know, the thing is as well, you know, that it's great having a person who's got autism, who has Asperger's, is great if you want honest advice, because I know that they won't BS me, you know. I know if I've got some sort of, it's probably a mild condition in my case. Yeah. I know that basically the good thing is having autistic friends or people on the Asperger's syndrome, I can go to them and say, what do you think of this? And they will tell me the truth, whereas no one else will. If they don't want to hurt my feelings, they'll say, that's rubbish. I don't like that. That's in the wrong place. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't look good. You need to change that. You know, and they will be blatantly honest. And that is a good thing about having a friend, for example, with Asperger's. Like if I've designed something and they don't like it, they'll tell me, it's no good though if you design it. You spent 3 hours on it. And then I'll just say, well, I don't like that. That can be really upsetting then. But if you really want to know the truth about something, you can ask your friend with Asperger's and they'll tell you, like, straight down the line, it's rubbish or it's good or it's indifferent or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's a good thing. But, you know, I really wanted to point out the childness of some people with Asperger's, because, you know, I can be attracted, you know, like people would think in general that people with Asperger's are not going to get people attracted to them romantically, for example. That it's not going to happen for them because they're different. They can be socially awkward. People with Asperger's can be socially awkward. They can find it difficult to communicate. Like I say, they can find empathy difficult. They probably don't even think about the word empathy that much. And, you know, there can be different issues in communication problems. But, you know, there's also a lot of good things. And I can get attracted to people with Asperger's. I've been attracted to people with Asperger's because I feel close to them. I don't know why. I think it is because I can be direct with them, honest with them. They're like that with me, so I trust them more. I like their logic. Obviously, if it conflicts with my emotions, then that might be a time when I don't like their logic as much, and I might think, well, my emotional well-being is more important than a bit of logic, if you know what I mean. But if they're using logic that's helping my emotional well-being, then that's good. If they're using logic and it's just going against my emotions and I just really need a cuddle or a kiss, then that wouldn't be good. Do you see what I mean? Logic's great in the right place, but for a person who's not so logical, because they've not got Asperger's like me, I would be feeling like a bit like, oh, well, this is a bit clinical. I'm trying to pull my heart out here over a really bad situation. You're just saying good, like one word, or nice, or great. Do you know what I mean? It's not the response I'd need. The response I'd need would be, okay, so do you want to talk about it? Do you want to cuddle? Do you want to hug or kiss? I think that's a really good thing for a person with Asperger's. You know, like if you're not sure how to act, just ask the person. No, so you know, like you're direct in other things. You're like, if you don't like something, you'll just tell them. If you think something, you'll just say it exactly like it is. Be that way if you get into a relationship with someone. Say, I ask them, it's your birthday coming up. What type of present would you like from me? Say, you like kissing, if you like kissing too, you both like kissing, say, okay, I'd like to kiss you, but how do you want me to kiss you? I think that's the best way forward for a person with Asperger's who's going to be in a relationship with a person who's not Asperger's. If you're with a person who's, as they call it, neurotypical, so someone without Asperger's, I think it works both ways. I think that could really help the relationship, because if all you've done it do is get the person without Asperger's asking all the questions all the time, saying, oh, well, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Because you don't pick up the social cues. You don't pick up, for example, flirts. You don't pick up on hints and nudges and winks. For the person who's non-Asperger's to keep telling you and asking you things directly all the time would be could be a bit wearing down after a while. It could be a bit really unromantic, take the fizzle out of the relationship, and could be a bit stressful. So if with the Asperger's person, the best way forward would be for you to actually come up with questions that you can ask in the relationship, and cover lots of different aspects, like what the person likes for their birthday, what the person likes for their Christmas, where they get, so the Asperger's person is asking the person without Asperger's all these questions. So the person without Asperger's doesn't feel like they have to tell them, because the person who's got Asperger's is putting more work and effort into the relationship in terms of asking, rather than the other person just telling all the time. Because in a sort of a Aspie and neurotypical relationship, I would say that the Aspie needs to be told what to do a lot of the time, not in a bad way, but because they don't understand hints and nudge, wink, winks. So the person who's not a non-Asperger's person kind of has to tell the Aspie person what to do all the time, but they don't want to all the time because it can be tiring. You don't want to feel like you're bossing them around or telling them what to do or mothering them, and similarly, the person who's autistic, they need a sense of worth themselves, and they need a sense of, their stake in the relationship, if you like, and their input, and they need to work hard, just like the person without autism has to work hard. If it's just one person in the relationship working harder than the other, it's not going to be a good sign for the future, because it's kind of like the person who's not autistic is mothering the person who is autistic, and you don't want that type of strain on the relationship. So I think a good way forward for people who have got autism is to literally think up questions on a regular basis to ask the person who's not got autism about themselves and what they like, dislike, and get to know them. And then the autistic person can write down in a book, if they need to, different things they say they like, and they can look at that, memorize it, and think logically and get obsessed about it if they want. Think, oh, that person's birthday's coming up. Oh, I need to buy them a gift. What's top 10 gifts? Oh, I must get them one of them. You see, this is the type of thing you need to obsess about, because that's how you can win love and relationship. If you want a romantic relationship, that's how you can be in a romantic relationship, or even a lifelong platonic friendship or platonic relationship, is, what people need in relationships more than anything. They need to be asked about themselves, because it shows you take an interest in them. They need to be made to feel understood and special, because again, it helps with the communication and the deep emotional connection in any relationship or friendship. So in actual fact, potentially a person with Asperger's, if they do some of these techniques that I'm explaining, could actually have a more deeper, fulfilling, meaningful relationship than someone without Asperger's who doesn't understand this stuff and who's not actually, taking the time and bother to do it. So if a person with Asperger's, constantly ask your person questions. A person loves being asked about themselves. If you are an Asperger's person, you're in a relationship with a person who's non-Asperger's, ask them, say, what do you like? What's your hobbies? What's your interests? If you go out for a movie, what movie would you choose? Write down the person's top 5 movies, types of movies. So if it's action, thriller, or sci-fi, or whatever it is, write them down. Ask the person who's not got Asperger's, how do you like to be kissed? Do you like pecks on the cheeks? Do you like kissing on the lips? Do you like tongue in the mouth? Obviously you should be sorting this stuff out before you get into a relationship, ideally. The worst thing you want to do is have incompatibilities, so that you hate kissing and they love it, and that you can't be together if they need that in the relationship. Same as if it's an Asperger's person who's asexual get into a relationship with a sexual. If you can't have sex and they want it, it's not a no-go. So even as friends, it's better to ask all these things outright, And if you've got Asperger's and you do find someone attractive, or you want some romance or with someone, it's best to ask the other person how they feel about you, you know, or tell that person. You know, it doesn't mean to say that they're gonna want that or feel that way about you right now or in the future or whatever. You know, but obviously if you're not Asperger's, you have to ask the person who's got Asperger's that, because they probably won't know anyway. If you like a person with Asperger's, you probably have to tell them or just ask them question. I always think whatever situation it is, if you're not sure if someone likes you or not more than a friend, it's just best to ask the other person. That way you don't reveal any of your feelings for someone. You haven't put your whole heart on the line. You haven't made the person feel too uncomfortable because you're not saying what you really think and feel. I mean, you can if you want, just tell them. It depends on the situation. If you're absolutely crazy about someone and can't stop thinking about them, you need to tell them, get off your chest, it will help you go for gold. You know, that's something you need to do as well in life, take opportunities and grasp them as they come along as well. But I hope that's been helpful for you. I hope you understood that if you've got Asperger's and you're in a relationship or want one, you know, write down things, you know, use those planning techniques, those organization skills, and incorporate them all into the relationship. So in other words, you make the relationship a focus, an obsession in a healthy way, because you're trying to find out the best thing for that person all the time. Where they like to be kissed, where they like to be taken on trips, what presents they like to have, what food they like to eat, where they like to go. You're asking all these questions. So you're having your logicalness, you're planning ahead, you're writing down in journals, you're making it one of your projects to actually put the other one in, you know, you're like putting your partner in your project and saying, okay, I'm having a project, this is my partner, and I need to find out much about her needs or his needs, wants, you know, or their, or them, or it needs, you know, and so I can be the best partner for them. And I think that could really breed one of the most loving, caring, deep, fulfilling, emotional relationships that just feel sensational. I mean, it's going to take work because there'll be lapses, you know, if you forget. But I know that with Asperger's people, if you really get obsessed with something, that's it. No one can really get you unobsessed with it. That's it for life, really. You know, but obviously if you are in a relationship and you've got an unhealthy obsession with something, then you are going to have to try and break that obsession or reduce it somewhat to a manageable state so that the other person still has time with you and can communicate with you and feel like they're special in your life. If your obsession with something else takes over your life and over your relationship, that relationship isn't really going to last. It's just going to mean that the other person gets bored, feels like you don't care about them, feels like you don't understand them. And obviously they do have other options. Everyone has other options out there in the world, whoever you are, whatever type of relationship you are. But I'm trying to tell you ways that you can use autism to your advantage, the planning, the structure. You know, if you want to create a romantic weekend, you could plan that away for the person. You'd have to try and find out what they like and what they want and stuff like this. But you see what I mean? You can make that person your obsession, not as in I'm obsessed with that person so much I have to see them 24/7. They can't see anyone else in their life and I'm controlling them. Obsessed as in their best interest obsessed. You know, like I've explained, you know, what they're into, what they like, you know, planning and doing things for them. You're giving, you know, you're helping and giving. You're being obsessed with the helping and giving role. And the more you give, the more you'll probably receive back in love and affection. So I think that's a really good way forward. So I really, really hope you've loved this live stream. I know it's been a very, very long live stream, probably the longest live stream I've ever done. On the second day of Asexual Awareness Week, which has now gone into day 3, but I will no doubt think of another video to do later on, much later tonight, for day 3 of Asexual Awareness Week official video. Until next time, embrace your quirky and each other. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks Michael, thanks Andy, thanks Martin. I think you guys have already given me a thumbs up, but if anyone else is watching, please do that if you haven't already. Subscribe and hit the big bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video or go live. If you've got any comments, questions, or things you want to say in the meantime, thanks Michael so much. Thanks Martin. Thanks Andy. Thanks to whoever watching. If you've got any comments, queries, or questions in the meantime, write it down below. And don't forget, obviously, you can check out my links for my Asexual Perspectives book down there in the description. My Redbubble, Thanks, Andy. Merchandise. I've also got a donate button now, so if you ever want to donate any money to this channel, there is a PayPal donate button, but you don't have to have PayPal. You can use credit card or whatever. You just click through the donate button, can make a one-off donation or a regular payment if you want to, and support this channel, which is awesome. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care. Bye. Nice to see you.